You're listening to the Long Game Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra Scaiano. Today is a mini episode. I've got a thought I want to share, and to be honest, I'm head down working on my upcoming program. Sometimes while you're in the thick of it, you get these points of clarity, right? These deeper understandings and connection, from the act of doing. Well, that's what we're talking about today. The long game is happiness from what you do. You're listening to the Long Game Podcast with Sandra Scaiano. In a world where everyone is doing, it's easy to get lost in a sea of comparison, secret tricks, and promises of overnight success. The long game is my approach to business. The actual day in and day out philosophy that you have to show up, you have to do the work, and there's no quick fixes for long-term success. I'm a web designer, digital strategist, and energetic thinker, and I'm here to share the process and lessons I experience with my clients daily who are going through the same struggles of building a business as you are. We'll hear from successful entrepreneurs sharing their long game strategies, and I'm fun, so we're going to have a little fun along the way too. Thanks for being here. Let's get to today's episode. The actions you took last year brought you to where you are today. This is a quote that I use in my webinar that I'm creating. I'm imparting the importance of action, about how procrastination creeps in its various forms, but it's ultimately about happiness and joy with the work that you're doing. Think about it. Your actions are impacting, and you're feeling the impact of your actions a year later. That means what you're working on has longevity. It's a long game. And if that's the case, what you do really needs to be a source of happiness and joy for you. It sounds like a no-brainer, but look at what you're working on. What you're doing every day. Is it really bringing you joy? Is it fulfilling you? As I've been sharing here, I have really been working on my process lately, and I am really head down making progress on my vision. And for me, I have these times that are slower and then these spurts where I'm like hurling myself forward. Working this way is really a discipline. It requires planning to keep my other plates spinning while I put so much attention to this work. And it requires saying no to things in my life, get-togethers, things like that, as there's only so much time each week. And this week, I have been so immersed in my work that yesterday my eyelids started twitching. So, when you work so much and that starts happening. But I heard a term recently that I'm swapping into my vocabulary now. Blissipline. I'm replacing discipline with blissipline. I'm doing everything I can to enjoy everything that I do more. This term is by Robert Mack, the author of Happiness from the Inside Out, and he writes about the connection between happiness and success. Mack says happiness leads to successful life outcomes. So being happy isn't just the end result, which we often equate with success, but it's a way to become successful, being happy first. I love how he says, if there ever was a lazy, intelligent shortcut to success, it's finding a way to get happy now. Do you love what you do? Are you truly happy from the work? I will tell you that with all my late night and weekend toiling, with my eye twitches and my off-hour eating, I am super energized by creating. The fact that I am creating something to help others and the actual content that I'm creating. I'm happy about it. I'm genuinely happy about it. I'm happy about what I'm doing and the progress I'm making and the time I'm putting in. I love the concept of happiness leads to success because being happy first leaves you with happy no matter what. Okay, guys, if there is someone who you think would love to hear this message, share this episode with them. It's super short and sweet. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. You can access more info in the show notes at thelonggamepodcast.net. If today's show connected with you in some way, please share it with your friends or hop on iTunes and leave me a review. Until next time, keep playing the long game. This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, Women's Voices Amplified. This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, Women's Voices Amplified.